and that help you understand each other better, and that help you avoid miscommunications or just getting into all the wrong situations, into all the wrong arguments, and to help you choose your battles.
I think that's great. And I think it's worth mentioning it's, we're talking about romantic relationships, but it is also true for relationships with your friends and with your
Oh,
family,
for sure.
and just setting rules. And for I I don't do this, but I should have certain rules with my friends. But I definitely have rules with my mother of boundary setting. So that's one thing. I'm trying to think about rules with JT. And I don't think we used to do this thing where we would give each other a grade of like 0 to 10, um
Hmm.
five being like, no, zero being I really do not care about this, five being I care about it but I trust you, and 10 being like you do not do this, I will break up with you. And cheating or something, and then
Yeah.
and so at the beginning we did it a lot, and we did it again this weekend. But so it didn't really we so the thing that we do is that I if we get close to an uncomfortable situation, um one of us will say this is, a 6 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, triggering. and
Yeah.
and we've never said this is 10 out of 10, I'll break up with you. um he may have said it once to me on something really like not controlling at all, and I won't go into detail. But I think that's a good way of setting, of getting a good, like, just a good idea about where this other person is and how you can understand, because what's triggering for him is not triggering for me, and vice versa. So it was a good way for us to kind of just understand where we were, and what were this, touchy subjects for the other.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, and I feel like in my relationship, we don't really call it like rules per se. Like it's not something that we sat and established as rules that we have to abide by. It was more like because my boyfriend and I have a lot of I was gonna say conversations and then communication. Conversations all the time. We talk about things as they come up. And I feel, first of all, I feel like that's one of the best ways to have a healthy relationship is when you don't wait for things to pop up and become a problem or an issue, or for them to to become to start to become an argument, or to be irritating, or to sweep under the rug. I feel you should talk about things as you go along. Just have like open communication, just discussions about different things that come up and how you feel, and some of your values, and it just comes up when you just allow it to be something that is talked about in a light and easy manner, and not only once it becomes an issue and then it's heavier and harder to solve. For example, we I think I spoke about this before, but we recently had sort of an argument. I don't know what to call it. And I told him I don't want us to get to a point where we're scared to talk to each other because what was it? We're like so scared of losing each other.
Yeah, that you're not going to bring up the hard topics.
Yeah, no, what was it? That oh, I lost my
Train of
train
thought.
of thought. Yeah, what was it? That oh, okay. Sorry about that. That I don't want to have to every time we have an argument or a disagreement, I don't want to have to to be scared that this is what's gonna break us, or that this is something that is gonna make one of us want to break up. I don't want to have to worry about this every single time we have an argument. And so we need to trust each other that we're not going to let petty arguments and small things blow up in our faces,
Yeah.
if you understand what I mean. Like we
Eh,
have to have open communications even when we're angry, and we're not gonna just give up because we had an argument.
yeah, that's a good rule to have, and I would add to that something about I can't remember the technique of it for some reason. It'll come back to me. But basically, it's when I'm upset with him or he's upset with me, we will do something where it's like a two-ended rule where if I'm upset with him, like let's say I don't know, he came home late or like he arrived later than he was supposed to or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can't say you arrived late and I'm angry. I have to say I feel upset that our timing wasn't respected. I feel abandoned. I feel taken for granted. I feel taken for nothing, things like that. I'm upset. I like it when either I know that things are going to be delayed or pushed back, but I just like to be aware. And I don't use the word you because I'm not accusing him because he even though it may be his fault, it's always kind of an attack. So that's the first side of that rule, of that kind of the way we talk. And the second side of that is that whilst I'm talking about my feelings, he cannot talk about his. Like, this is my moment. And so I will do my very best of, not using the word you and not accusing him of anything. You did that, you did that, you did that. I just don't do that. And then he will receive it in a sense, okay, I hear you. And then when he needs to talk about his feelings, then we wait for a bit, a couple of hours or the day or whatever. And then we do the same in the other way around. Like he'll express it, he won't be accusing me. And I can't really, react to his things like it's his things. It's not always easy to do that. Usually it's something that, people in therapy do with like, you've got the therapist who's the mediator and kind of brings everything back. But for the semi-heated arguments, like you've got the arguments that are useless, and then you've got the big ones that it's difficult to manage. But the middle ones of that type of thing, that you can try doing that.
Yeah,
Not
we've sorry.
just not accusing.
Yeah, we've had the same sort of conversation about when something happens that bothers you, or when you get insulted or you get hurt or whatever it is, there's a manner of which you can say things, because if you're just going to be accusatory, that's going to shut them up. This going to shut them off, and it's going to make them clam up and not be able to hear you and what you want to say, and it's going to make them feel attacked. So you need to know how to tell them what you're feeling, and to portray it in a way where it's not accusatory, and you shouldn't want that, shouldn't be your prerogative either. You should want to say it calmly, explain to them so they can understand you, and they shouldn't become all defensive. They should be open-minded and understand. And again, in many of these situations, you discover that there's a lot of things that you both did wrong in the situation. And yes, he may have done something that upset you, but you might have done something as well that triggered them, or
Exactly.
you. So it's very dynamic, and it's very important to know how to express yourself properly. It's important for them to know how to listen
Yeah.
without being judgmental and without being defensive, and saying, I get it, it's fine, I understand, I did something that was harmful or hurtful or whatever it was, and to accept that, and to be able to learn from it and move forward and do better together. Like at the end of the day, the in a relationship, you want to solve things. You don't want to be right. You don't want to win an argument. You want to solve it together in a productive manner, where you can learn from it and do better in the future together. And we were talking about this also the other day that again we have a lot of these conversations where he was saying that what was it that he the times that he was scared to say something because or in past relationships anytime he shared or expressed something then she would make him feel bad for it or she would make him feel guilty and I and when you make someone feel guilty for sharing or expressing themselves then you're the one with the issue and not them when you try even if they did something wrong when you try to make them feel bad for it or shame them for it then you're part of the problem here as well.
100% agree with that sentiment. You know, the world we live in is not black and white. And whenever I would have this type of conversation with less open-minded people who just, just different types of people, they would say, oh, but you know, they would bring up these extreme circumstances of like, oh, what about Hitler and what about this and what about that and what about, and it's just like you don't use these extreme examples. Don't use, same for trans people, abortion talk, or like things like that, and of just the people defending the arguments keep using these extreme circumstances, and that's not the
Mm-hmm.
right attitude. It's not the right. You need to be thinking about. There's a spectrum of colors, and it's not from left to right, but it's forward to front and up and down, like it's a 4D world. And it's just where do we, position ourselves in each situation. And so yes, in a situation where people can't really express themselves, and the consequence of that is that they behave in a way where it's not amazing, but it's not of real consequence. So it's a spectrum. So you want to be thinking about, yes they did this, but how big was the consequence? Not that big. Okay, so maybe you're part of the problem. So I completely agree with that sentiment. And it's need to things that are not black and white. And I think, to come back to your question of what's a good rule in a relationship, is to actually talk about, as you do with your boyfriend, talk about these things all the time, because it's just so fine, the details and everything, it's so precise, like some little things. And so it all comes
Yeah.
down to talking without judgment, like, and then if you feel triggered by something, by just talk, like, because talking is before actions. If you yourself feel triggered by something, then you want to be thinking about why that's affecting you, and then just like question yourself. And I'm not saying that you're wrong for being triggered. I'm saying that those are your feelings, so you need to make those very clear for yourself before talking to them about it.
Yeah. And giving them the benefit of the doubt and not reacting before you understand the situation. Because
Yeah.
more often than not, we tend to straight away go into um what's the opposite of defense? Or
Offense.
offense, yeah. Well, you go into attacking mode
Yeah,
before you actually hear them out, listen to what happened, and yeah,
yeah, yeah, 100%, 110% agree with you.
yeah. Should we move on to the next question?
Yeah. um I it's a different, like, well, we're changing kind of like the mood, but I had something called who found love, and it brought me back to something that a girl that I used to know had said, that she read this article